Welcome to Nala Madras, the podcast where we explore the sacred threads connecting spirituality, daily living, and music. Inspired by the rich tapestry of insights on nalamadras.com, this space is a sanctuary for seekers, artists, and anyone drawn to the deeper rhythms of life. Join me as we dive into the world of bhajans, kirtans, shamanic drumming, and other soul-stirring traditions. We'll uncover how music becomes a bridge to the divine and explore timeless practices that nurture inner harmony. Let's journey together into the heart of spirituality, one note at a time.
All right, let's dive in. We're taking a deep dive today into the world of Guru Dutt. He's this iconic Indian filmmaker. I mean, his films are just incredible, really powerful, and his life story, oh man, just as captivating.
Yeah, his films really are some special. I mean, the way he was able to blend popular appeal with true artistic innovation, it's really remarkable.
Yeah, for sure. So we've got some excerpts here from this document all about Guru Dutt. And one of the first things that really jumped out at me was his name.
Oh, right.
Turns out Guru Dutt wasn't his real name at all.
Yeah, that's true. His real name was Vasanth Kumar Shivashankar Padukone.
Wow, what a mouthful. So it makes you wonder, sometimes a name change can signal a whole transformation, especially for artists.
Right.
And in his case, it really did mark the beginning of this incredible journey.
It did. It's fascinating to think about, isn't it? I mean, this is a guy who started out working for a telephone company.
Yeah.
And ended up directing some of the most iconic Indian films ever made.
That's a pretty serious leap.
Yeah.
So, how did he even get into filmmaking? I mean, what was his path like?
Well, he actually trained in dance and drama at Uday Shankar's India Cultural Center. And that definitely had a lasting impact on his cinematic style. You can see it. But it was his friendship with another legend, Dev Anand, that really opened the door to the film world for him.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So tell me about that. How did that friendship lead to his first film?
So Dev Anand had actually made a promise to Guru Dutt that if he ever became a producer, he would let Guru Dutt direct a film for him.
Wow.
And he kept that promise.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That's actually how Guru Dutt got his start, directing the crime thriller Baazi in 1951.
So Baazi was his very first film.
Yeah, his directorial debut.
Wow. And I mean, that was a huge hit, right?
It was. It was really, it was this really clever blend of Indian storytelling with techniques borrowed from film noir. It was stylish, it was engaging, and you could already see these flashes of Guru Dutt's signature style emerging even then.
Okay, so you're talking about his signature style. What is it about his films that really sets them apart? When I watch them, I always get this feeling, kind of like a beautiful sadness, I guess you could say.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. There's definitely a melancholic beauty to his films.
Right.
And a lot of that comes from the themes he explored: unrequited love, the struggles of individuals against societal pressures, human vulnerability in the face of it all.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Those themes really come through in his work.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of his specific films, like Pyaasa. That one's considered a masterpiece, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, the story of a struggling poet grappling with rejection, it just seems so powerful.
It is, and it's more than just a story. It's this visual and emotional experience. He used this incredible technique called chiaroscuro, playing with light and shadow to really bring out the character's inner turmoil.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, like there's this scene where the poet is alone in his room and a single beam of light illuminates his face. It just creates this incredible mood of isolation and introspection. Really draws you in.
Wow, that's powerful. And the music too, right? The soundtrack for Pyaasa is it's haunting. The songs are incredible.
Yeah, the music, composed by the legendary S.D. Burman and lyrics by Sahir Ludhianvi, it's so beautiful. Songs like Jane Wo Kai is lovely. They're still incredibly popular, even with people who haven't seen the film. It's really amazing how that happens, how his work just transcends generations. And speaking of timeless, his film, Kaagaz Ke Phool from 1959 is another great example.
Ah, Kaagaz Ke Phool. That was actually India's first film shot in CinemaScope, right?
It was.
Wow, and so that was filmed on a wider screen, giving it this grand, epic feel.
Oh.
And the story itself, so personal.
Right.
This filmmaker struggling with fame and isolation. It's almost like Guru Dutt was pouring his own experiences into that film.
Well, it is a semi-autobiographical tale.
Wow, that's fascinating. And what's interesting is I read that film, Kaagaz, Phool, it was actually a flop when it first came out.
Yeah. It's funny how these things happen, right? That the audiences just weren't ready for its stark realism and melancholic tone. I guess it was just ahead of its time. But now, of course, it's considered one of his greatest works.
That's wild. And that song, Wakanakia Kaiha Asingtitam, sung by his wife, Geeta Dutt.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, that adds another layer of complexity to the whole thing.
It's true. It's almost as if you can hear the echoes of their own relationship in that song, you know, the joy, the pain, the connection, the distance. It's another element that makes Guru Dutt's films so compelling.
Right. So we've talked about his use of chiaroscuro, which you said was inspired by German Expressionism.
Yes.
And I've also read about him borrowing from film noir.
Yeah, for Balzi.
Right. So clearly, this wasn't just a filmmaker following trends. I mean, he was actively seeking inspiration from all these different cinematic traditions.
Oh, absolutely. He wasn't afraid to experiment, to really push the boundaries of Indian cinema. And he used those techniques, you know, not just for visual flair, but to really get to the heart of his characters' emotions, to make the audience feel what they were feeling.
Right. It's like he's using every tool at his disposal, not just dialogue, but lighting, composition, camera angles, to create these really immersive experiences for the audience.
Exactly. He wasn't just telling stories. He was creating visual poems full of symbolism and depth.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's why his films are still so relevant today, because they touch on those universal themes of love, loss, and the human condition. They resonate with audiences across cultures and generations. It's really quite remarkable.
Absolutely. So we've got this like visionary director experimenting with all these cutting edge techniques, creating these incredibly powerful films. But then, you know, his personal life, it wasn't a fairy tale.
No, it wasn't. It's true. There was a lot of darkness lurking beneath the surface.
Right. And it's just this reminder that even the most brilliant artists are human beings, you know, with their own flaws and their own vulnerabilities.
It's true. I mean, Guru Dutt's personal life was marked by this stark contrast between his outward success and his inner struggles. You know, his marriage to Geeta Dutt, the rumors of his affairs, the tragic end to his life. It all paints this picture of a man grappling with some pretty intense emotions.
Yeah, it's really heavy stuff. So let's delve into that a bit. You know, his marriage to Geeta Dutt, that was particularly tumultuous, right? I mean, they had 3 children together, but faced so many challenges.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting, isn't it? The irony that Geeta Dutt's voice, which brought such emotional depth to so many of his films, was also, you know, part of this personal life that was filled with challenges for him. The rumors of his affairs, her struggles with alcoholism, it all just added to the complexity of their relationship.
Absolutely. And I think that complexity is something that's often reflected in his films, wouldn't you say?
Oh, for sure. I mean, the characters he created, the stories he told, they so often delve into those messy realities of love and loss and the human condition.
Yeah, exactly. It's that rawness, that vulnerability that makes his films so powerful. It's like he wasn't afraid to show the darker side of life, you know, the pain and the struggles that we all face. And in doing so, he created something truly human, something that continues to resonate with us today.
Yes, it's that humanness that makes them so timeless. He wasn't just a filmmaker, he was a storyteller, a poet of the human experience.
Beautiful. All right, so that brings us to, I guess, the elephant in the room, the tragic end to his life. Guru Dutt was only 39 years old when he passed away in 1964.
Yeah, it was a devastating loss for Indian cinema, really for the whole world of film.
Yeah.
His death cut short such a brilliant career.
It did. So we've talked about how his personal life was filled with challenges. His marriage to Geeta Dutt was reportedly strained. There were rumors of affairs, including one with the actress Wahida Rehman. Do you think those personal struggles played a role in his untimely end?
It's hard to say for sure, really. The circumstances surrounding his death are still kind of shrouded in mystery, you know.
Yeah. I've read that it's widely believed to have been a suicide.
Right.
But the exact cause is still debated. It's a sad story.
It's a tragic reminder of the fragility of life, you know, even for those who seem to have it all.
Yeah. It makes you think about the impact of his work, how he poured his heart and soul into these films, exploring these themes of longing, heartbreak, this search for meaning. Maybe his art was a reflection of his inner turmoil in a way.
It's definitely possible, and it makes his films all the more poignant.
It does. It's like you're seeing a glimpse into his soul.
Yeah.
This vulnerability laid bare on the screen, it's powerful. So even though his life was cut tragically short, his legacy continues to shine, doesn't it? He left behind this body of work that is both beautiful and heartbreaking, challenging and inspiring, all at the same time.
He did. His films are a testament to the power of cinema to touch our hearts, provoke our minds, and leave a lasting impression on our souls.
So we've covered a lot of ground here, from his entry into filmmaking to his techniques, his personal life. I think it's clear that this was a man who really lived and breathed cinema.
He did. And while his life may have ended tragically, his films, they continue to resonate with audiences worldwide, inspiring new generations of filmmakers, reminding us of the power of storytelling.
Well, in the next part of our deep dive, we're going to explore his filmmaking style in more detail. A closer look at those specific techniques he used to create these visual masterpieces.
Yeah, we'll analyze his use of lighting, composition, symbolism, all of it.
Right.
We'll delve deeper into the themes that made his films so captivating. Stay tuned for more.
It's amazing, as we talk about his life, his films, how much his personal experiences kind of seep into his work. It's almost like an undercurrent running through everything he created.
Yeah, it's true. It's hard to separate the artist from the art, right? Especially with someone like Guru Dutt. I mean, his films are so personal, so raw, so emotionally charged. It's like you're getting a glimpse into his soul. Right, and one of the ways he achieved that was through his mastery of visual storytelling. I mean, he was a true innovator, always pushing those boundaries, what you can do with the camera, with lighting, with composition.
So we talked about chiaroscuro a bit earlier, but I'd love to kind of dive a little deeper into that. Can you explain, how he actually used that technique, to create that atmosphere, that mood in his films?
Well, chiaroscuro is all about that interplay between light and shadow. And it's not just about making things look, pretty or whatever. It's about using those contrasts to actually convey emotion, to create a mood, Like imagine a dimly lit room, right?
Yeah.
And the only source of light is a single lamp casting these long shadows across the walls. I mean, immediately you get a sense of mystery, suspense.
Even a touch of melancholy.
Right, and you see that a lot in Pyaasa, the way he uses shadows to kind of represent the protagonist's inner turmoil. Exact. I mean, take, for example, that scene where the poet, Vijay, is wandering through the city streets at night, lost in his thoughts. The streetlights are casting these harsh, almost angular shadows on his face, emphasizing his isolation, his despair. It's like this visual representation of his internal state. And it's just so powerful.
It's like the visuals are doing as much work as the dialogue, maybe even more so. You feel those emotions so strongly.
Absolutely. You're right. It's not just what he's saying, but how he's framed, how he's lit. That's Guru Dutt's genius.
Yeah.
He understood that every element in a film, from the camera angle to the lighting, could be used to tell a story.
Right.
To evoke an emotion. And he was also very innovative with camera movement, and composition. Like he would often use these really long takes where the camera just kind of lingers on a scene, letting the action unfold naturally.
Oh, yeah. I've noticed that in his films. It's almost like you're right there in the room with the characters, experiencing everything with them in real time.
Exactly. And then there's his use of symbolism.
Right.
His films are just layered with these subtle but really powerful images that add all this depth and meaning to the story. Like you see that, especially in Kaagaz Phool. There's this recurring motif of mirrors, right? Reflecting the protagonist's shattered dreams, his descent into disillusionment. It's a visual metaphor that just speaks volumes without a single word being spoken.
Wow. It makes me want to go back and watch his films again with a fresh perspective. Really pay attention to those details.
You should. I mean, it's like peeling back the layers of an onion, Each time you watch a Guru Dutt film, you discover something new, some subtle nuance you might have missed before.
Right. It's amazing how he can combine, those innovative techniques, incredible visuals, and still his films are deeply rooted in Indian culture, Indian tradition.
Oh, absolutely. And that's another really fascinating aspect of his work. He drew so much inspiration from these traditional Indian art forms like dance and music, and he incorporated them so seamlessly into his films.
Right. It's like the song and dance sequences, they're not just there for entertainment. I mean, they're an integral part of the storytelling.
They are. They often serve as these emotional turning points, expressing the character's inner feelings in a way that words they can't convey. Like, think about the song Wakna Kia Hasin Sitam in Kaagaz Phool. It's such a beautiful, melancholic reflection on lost love, and the passage of time. And it just captures the film's overall mood so perfectly.
Yeah. And the music in his films, it's not just background music. It's like it's part of the fabric of the story.
Exactly. I mean, he worked with some of the most talented musicians and lyricists of his time, people like S.D. Burman, Sahir Luthianvi. I mean, their collaborations created these incredibly moving and memorable soundtracks.
It's like all these different elements come together, the visuals, the music, the storytelling. It's in perfect harmony.
It is, and that's what makes his work so captivating. There's just this incredible attention to detail, a deep understanding of how to use all those tools of filmmaking to create something truly moving, truly memorable.
Yeah, and it's hard not to think about how those elements, those visuals, that music, those deeply personal themes were shaped by his own experiences.
Absolutely. Well, we keep coming back to this. You can't separate the artist from the art. And with Guru Dutt, that line between his life and his work is often so blurred.
Yeah.
The pain of his failed marriage, those rumors of his affairs, the constant pressure of fame, all of that found its way into his films.
It's like he's using his art to try and process those emotions.
Yeah.
To make sense of the world around him. And in doing so, he creates something universal, something that speaks to all of us.
Right. His films aren't just about a specific time and place. They're about these eternal struggles of love, loss, the search for meaning.
The more we talk about Guru Dutt, the more I realize just how much there is to uncover, to explore. His work is like this bottomless well, full of hidden depths and layers of meaning.
It's true, and that's why he remains such an enduring figure in cinema history, His films continue to inspire us, they challenge us, prompting us to look deeper, to question our assumptions and embrace, the complexity of the human experience.
And in the next part of our deep dive, we're going to shift our focus to the man behind the camera.
Oh.
Explore those complexities of his personal life and how those experiences shaped his art.
Yeah, we'll delve into his relationships, his struggles, and his untimely end. Attempt to unravel the enigma that was Guru Dutt.
So we spent the last couple parts really digging into Guru Dutt's work, his visual style, the way he kind of wove these deep, melancholic themes, into his storytelling.
Right.
But his personal life, it's like it kind of mirrored that same sense of melancholy in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to unpack in this final part of our deep dive here. It's impossible to really fully understand his films without acknowledging that impact. I mean, his personal life had a profound impact on his artistic vision. It really did. His work often feels like this mirror, reflecting those inner struggles, his battles with love, with loss, with the pressures of fame. It's all there.
You can really see it, yeah.
So we talked about his marriage to Geeta Dutt, this incredibly talented playback singer whose voice, it graced so many of his films.
Right.
But their relationship, from what I've read, was pretty turbulent.
It was really complex, marked by both deep affection and intense conflict.
Yeah.
And it's kind of ironic, isn't it, that Geeta Dutt's voice, which brought so much emotion, so much depth to his films, also represented a source of personal turmoil for him.
It's interesting how life intertwines like that. Yeah. So the rumors of his affairs and then Geeta's own struggles, with alcoholism. Yeah. And that just added another layer of complexity to their whole story. It must have been incredibly challenging, for both of them, to be going through all of that while also trying to create art.
It's heartbreaking to think about what they went through. It makes you wonder, how those experiences sort of seeped into his films, the way he portrayed relationships, the longing for connection, that pain of heartbreak. You see it everywhere.
And one thing that always kind of gets me is how many of his films really explore that theme of unrequited love. Is it too much of a stretch to connect that to his own life? The challenges he faced in his marriage?
Well, it's a connection a lot of people have made, and it's hard to just dismiss it outright. Think about it. His films delve into these really deep human emotions. They explore love and relationships, how fragile they can be, and that lingering peak of longing. It's like he was using his art to grapple with his own experiences almost, to try and make sense of the messiness of human connection, right?
Right. And then there's the tragic end to his life. Guru Dutt died at the young age of 39. It's still shrouded in mystery, but most people believe it was suicide. And it's hard not to see that as kind of, the ultimate expression of that melancholy. That ran through so much of his work.
Yeah. It's a devastating loss, and it definitely adds a layer of, maybe poignancy is the right word, to his films. Knowing how it all ended, you just can't help but watch them differently. Almost like you're searching for clues, trying to understand the man behind the art.
Yeah. It makes you wonder, if his death, the circumstances around it, have they overshadowed his legacy at all? Has it become more about the tragedy than about the brilliance of his films?
That's an interesting question. I think his death definitely casts this long shadow over his work, but I don't think it's diminished his brilliance.
Okay.
If anything, it's made his films even more powerful, more resonant. They serve as this reminder of his genius, his sensitivity, and that incredible depth of his understanding of the human experience.
It's like his films have become a way for us to connect with him on a much deeper level, to understand the man behind the art, and to appreciate the depths of his struggles and his triumphs.
Exactly. And that's why he's such an enduring figure in cinema history. Guru Dutt, he wasn't just a filmmaker, he was a poet, really, of the human soul. A master storyteller who used the language of cinema to explore those complexities of life and love.
So as we wrap up our deep dive here into the world of Guru Dutt, I'm just left with this sense of awe, at his talent, but also a deep sadness for a life cut short, the potential that was never fully realized. It's bittersweet.
It is, but I think the most important thing to remember is the power of his work. His films, they continue to speak to us, to move us, they inspire us decades after they were made, and that's a real testament to the power of art to transcend time and connect us all on this very human level.
Yeah, beautiful. It's been an incredible journey exploring the life and work of this legend, and I really encourage all of you listening, seek out his films, experience that magic for yourselves. You might be surprised at how deeply they resonate with you, even today.
They're a gift, really, a treasure trove of beauty, heartbreak, and such a profound insight into what it means to be human. Don't let them fade away. Watch them, discuss them, allow yourself to be moved.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Guru Dutt. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the things that, the things that spark your curiosity and ignite your imagination.